Hey, everybody. We're actually on time.
Yep.
Yeah. Rachel is very uncomfortable. If if Monica has a
Welcome to
chance to
Rachel
pan
Uncomfortable
around, we are at the Hope Haven Animal Sanctuary. It's up in Wexford, up there. And if you look around, you'll see turkeys walking around us, ducks. There's a goat that's on the wall. There's
hog,
there's
an emu.
Yeah, hogs.
Can't
and
make this stuff
emu.
up.
Emu met us at the gate. Anyways, this is this week's podcast, Behind the Scenes. As you know, this is what we do. So go get your sandwich or your coffee or whatever you're going to do, and we'll be here. And then, of course, we'll edit this down, and it'll be the podcast for this week. We always start with a musician and just trying to get your goat.
Nice one.
Good night,
Don't tell
everybody.
him that was my-
Anyways,
That was bad.
see,
That was so dad joke.
see, we know Danny from the Bastard Bearded Irishman, and now you're going kind of doing some solo stuff, so we appreciate it. So, in case anybody bails out early, which I don't know why they would, but where would they find more about you before you start singing?
Everywhere on social media or whatever at Danny Rec, DANNYREC. I also have a website, DannyRec.com.
Yeah,
too.
cool.
So many questions to ask you. So we'll have you sing. Well, not sing. We'll have you
Yeah.
perform first. But I mean, you're even commercially owned, known.
Oh boy.
Say that 3 times fast. So we have lots to talk to Danny about. We're so excited to catch up. But now we're gonna go, right?
Do it. Let's
Yeah?
do it.
All right, let me tune up really.
Tune up. Tune up. There's a turkey tuning with you.
I know.
He's a G minor
He's gonna
7.
join me. Yeah.
Now that was funny. All right, that I'll give you. That I'll give you.
So this is a song I wrote called Canyon, and that's also the name of my most recent album that I put out.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's an instrumental that I wrote about a recent visit to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
Okay.
So that's
I
what
love
this
reflection.
is. Yeah.
Wow. Danny Reck.
Just put me at ease.
Oh
I'm
my
fine.
God.
I am zen now that I'm
The
here.
good news is you calmed the
Being
savage
here.
beasts
Yes.
around here.
That's
Except
right,
for
yeah.
the turkey. The turkey,
Turkey's just
what's the
not-
turkey's name
not
again?
having it.
Wyatt.
That's
what I
Wyatt the
thought.
turkey decided there needs to be words to this song.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Yes.
okay with it. I'm open to people interpreting my music in any way that they want. Yeah.
It really makes you feel that zen. Like you really
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I said, it's a reflection. You said it was the Grand Canyon, and you
Uh-huh.
sort of wrote that. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. You can feel
I
that.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
So
yeah.
many questions to ask you, but
Sure.
before we get into all that, where does everybody find you, follow you, all that good stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll bring you back.
At Danny Rec, DANNYREC, and then also DannyRec.com. You can find me there. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok, but
Yeah,
It's-
I'm
it's
We
good.
get that one,
We're
yeah.
with you.
yeah.
Right.
All right, Danny,
All
we're
right.
going to come back
You get
to
to
you.
go
You
take
get
a
to hang
break.
out with the
Sure.
farm animals
Yeah.
for a while. But yeah,
Go
you could
away?
go.
Yep,
yeah.
there you go. So this is how we start the
Go see
podcast
Wyatt.
here.
Go make amends with Wyatt.
Get the best experience of customer service and maintenance of your Rorick Advantage at the Service Center on West Liberty Avenue. Visit RorickHonda.com for all of your vehicle needs. Remember, sometimes we have blog posts about shady parking people and shady drivers because John gets mad at him. That's me.
Oh, that's you.
Now we start this week's Ya Jag Off podcast from the Hope Haven Animal Sanctuary.
Right here by me.
So this is where, again, you'll hear all these people say, you jag off, you jag off, you jag off. And then we say, it's John and Rachel. If you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, we appreciate that you subscribe to it, download it, tell your friends, share it, and go, oh, these people ain't so bad.
Not at all. And we're not so bad because John has taken on the true essence of the blog post for the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or more. He literally has been finding out who the Jags are and bringing them out. But we've had a lot of help. Chris from the Pirates, no.
Renegades of the
Renegade.
Rotunda?
I always say the Pirates of the Rotunda, but part of the Pittsburgh Pirates raised money for the pirate charities. He had a good one. You superimposed his picture this week.
Right.
What was that all about?
It was someone who, if you know this parking lot, which is across the street, what's the Little's shoe store?
Yes, in
it's
Squirrel Hill,
across
yeah.
the street and behind those buildings. If you know that parking lot, you know it's a bear.
Well,
And
it's
if-
a great parking lot if you get there with time. But
Right.
if it's packed, forget
If
about
you
it.
go
Don't
in
turn
there, there's no way out. You have to 3-point turn or an 8-point turn and come back out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, send us a great picture of a car who literally split the middle between two parking spaces.
Yeah.
And didn't really need to do that.
Yeah.
That's a hard enough place to park, especially in Squirrel Hill. So
Correct. And then we had really,
learn how to
really
park.
good news. One was the Zachary's Mission Total. If you didn't read this, I really, really hope that you do. Almost $19,000 in funds, gift cards, and toiletries raised for Zachary's Mission from the Porch Tour. So kudos to all those wonderful families who helped out.
that was out of 4 porch
Four
stops.
homes.
Yeah.
4 homes. Yeah, it was amazing. So they were all fantastic people, and we're really proud. So go check out that blog post. And our big announcement that we have our first segment on Talk Pittsburgh with Heather Abraham. It's been so much fun. We did a Jag Tag segment on Q92.9 FM for a while, which basically is about your small business, your side hustle. There's so many
Get it,
big
Wyatt.
businesses with budgets, and there's so many small businesses without. So how can we sort of highlight and really lift those people who don't have the means and kind of say like, hey, this is who you should be patroning.
Yeah, for sure. So that was what was on the blog, and we have a really good question of the day as I could read down through
Did
my
you read
notes.
it?
I did read my notes.
I liked yours,
Yes.
but I think mine was better.
No,
Okay.
listen. We are at the Hope Haven Sanctuary. Check this out, Rach.
Yeah,
we are at
do
the
it.
Hope Haven
Yeah.
Sanctuary, and odds are you're going to want to bring your kids here
That was so
and your
good.
grandkids here because Odds Are is a new sports information application for iOS and Android that aims at helping sports bettors make smarter bets. The bottom line is that if you get mad and you watch everybody else winning their bets, the Odds Are is not a betting app.
No.
It's a betting assistant app.
Well, right. It gives you the sort of, how do you want to say it? 101
Yes.
and the fool's guide to.
Right.
I don't want to say it because I am not a good bettor. So when they break it down for green, yellow, red, I'm in. I completely understand. There you go.
Point being, if you're not a good bettor or everybody's buying drinks because they won and you didn't,
Yeah.
you can walk into the bar next week if you download the Odds Are app, and we'll put the link in there because it does give you advice. Green means it's a good bet. Yellow, red,
Don't
maybe
do
stay
it.
away from it.
Don't
It's
be
high
a
risk.
jag.
And then go to your betting app, your favorite betting app, and bet. So Odds Are.
But check out that app and check out the website. But
Yeah.
also check out our videos because we've been kind of teasing them that odds are do this. but the Odds Are app helps. So
So odds are you will want to bring your grandchildren, your children up here, your school up here to Hope Haven. It looks like we're somewhere in Fayette County or up in Clarion
That's
County,
what I'm
but we're
saying.
literally not.
by my house. You
We
are
are
literally by my
right
house.
up the
Like,
road.
Yeah, we
Right.
can't believe it.
I know, and no one knows that we're here. So
Well-
I appreciate you guys coming out to spread the word.
Well,
Thank
it's sort
you.
of a jag tag, right? In the sense
A
that
jag
this.
Yeah.
So a jag tag is basically, we are talking to jags. Good term of endearment. Jag.
Okay.
And you're telling us about your business, and then you tag another business that we should know about. That's the
Oh.
whole point of a jag tag.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
Which is kind of cool because we heard about you from somebody else. And That's
Really?
what Pittsburgh's all about.
Yay! Who was
So
it?
there you go, Tressa.
Oh, yes. Oh,
are
I
good,
love,
right?
love her.
There you go. So tell us your story, Karen.
Yeah.
We talked to you, like we said on the radio, about a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Talking about this place, but it doesn't do it justice if you're not here.
Right.
So
you have
you're
to
not-
experience it.
Right. You have to experience it, and don't get upset. Most Yinzers do not like when people are not from Pittsburgh, but you're an exception. You're fine because
okay.
look what you've done.
Well, and I've been here for a really long time,
Okay.
since '98. My gosh.
You're a
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm a
I read that
Pittsburgher.
wrong. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
So where are you originally from, and what gave you the idea?
Well, I'm originally from Vermont.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone loves Vermont. It's a wonderful state. But I came to Pennsylvania to go to vet school. So that was in Philadelphia. And then I came to Pittsburgh. And I've been here ever since. It's a great place to work and live. And I've loved it. But it was while I was working as a veterinarian in the North Side, the Western Humane Society
yeah.
down there.
There you go.
Some of you may have adopted your pets through there.
Yeah.
Wonderful place. Well, I was working there doing their spay neuter surgeries, and that's my first passion. I love doing spay neuters. I'm a high volume, high quantity, quality surgeon. It's a great thing, helping stop pet overpopulation. But I was in the city, and I was actually seeing a lot of farm animals coming in through the shelter, usually through humane agents that were taking them from abuse or neglect. Sometimes it was an owner's surrender if they couldn't keep the animal anymore or if they gotten sick, some reasons like that. Sometimes they were strays. But the humane societies in Pittsburgh and most humane societies aren't set up to really take care of farm animals. So that's where the idea came to give Pittsburgh its very own farm animal sanctuary where they could be cared for properly and loved and given a home forever.
I mean, you act like it's so
I'm
simple.
supposed to follow
easy
up with a
peasy.
question.
Seriously,
Easy
like,
peasy.
Am I supposed to speak
No, I'm
now?
like,
'Cause
all
I
right,
feel-
great talking to
Thanks
you.
for the
Who's up
period
next?
of inadequacy.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Because you've done so much. It's super cool. And so, yeah, I guess I don't.
Quick question,
Go
though.
ahead.
So is this the only one?
The only farm. Oh well, I mean, do you mean are there other
Here, you're
sanctuaries?
here, yes.
Oh, in the Wexford
West-
area, yes.
Okay.
It's going to be not. There's going to be more because we are expanding. So no, this
like
is
I
a.
knew, but I didn't.
I know. It's like thank you for that. Yeah, that's one of the exciting things that I wanted to tell your listeners because I haven't made it official, but we have purchased a second property and we're expanding, keeping this property in Wexford. So please continue to come out and visit us, come on tours and events. But we also are. I've just purchased a property in Harmony, which is a lovely,
Oh, yeah.
That's
lovely,
great.
lovely town. And it's much bigger. It's beautiful. That's where we're going to really take off and get more animals that we can rescue and work on education. I really want to start really having people come out for more classes and
Field
learning.
trips, things
Yep,
like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
bigger things. We are quite limited here because we have a teeny little parking lot. You guys saw
Sure.
it. And the property here is only 6 acres. So there's only so much we can do. It's wonderful. I love it here and I want people to visit, but we are so excited about the new property too.
So,
Nothing like talking about education with a hog 3 feet
Right.
short, right?
Right.
I can literally.
That's
he's like,
Norman.
and
Norm slurping
why
and-
the turkey keeps eyeing you up there?
He doesn't like
Yeah.
me. I
You-
said
He
I love
does like
turkey.
you.
Right before we started, you said something about Thanksgiving,
No,
and
I
it
didn't.
just
No,
got
I
set
swear
off
to
on
God,
the
I-
wrong foot.
No, I said I love turkey. I love turkey.
Oh, well, he must have misunderstood.
Yeah, I
Right.
think so, yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you get your animals?
Well, that's a good question. I'm a subcontracting veterinarian, so I work at all of the local shelters. All I
Okay.
do is work at animal shelters. I don't have a private practice. So with working in shelters, I am good friends and communicate well with their animal control officers and humane agents. So that's usually how I'll get most of my animals, that they go out on abuse cases, neglect cases, and I can help them out when they have those animals that they've confiscated. So He's actually being really good. He's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I know.
great.
I know
No, it's
you
great.
guys are like looking behind
So
you.
when you say that, like there's the pig that's not right behind us, but the pig that's in the shelter that's huge,
know.
right?
Yeah, a Chew and Gesundheit. Those are
yeah,
farm
that's
hogs.
exactly what I thought. Yeah,
Yeah, they sneeze a lot.
But how did that get to you? Somebody had that in their house.
No, there are some exceptions. We do
Okay.
work with other sanctuaries that need to find places because
Gotcha.
we can't all take everything.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that they actually came from the National Farm Sanctuary in Watkins Glen, New York.
Oh, yeah.
And I was fangirling because they're a pretty wonderful sanctuary. So they helped me take those 2 pigs in. They had a lot of illness and they were from a meat market, and they've grown up here since they were little. They're wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
What I love about it, in all seriousness, I've joked. I'm half joking, but I'm half serious because I am not. I've just never been an animal like, oh, let's go do this. I appreciate and love our zoos and things like that. Appreciate and love what you're doing.
Okay, well, thanks.
Being here and seeing it is a whole other thing because you're right. I'm sitting among it all.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and,
Oh my
so
gosh.
all kidding aside from that respect, like they literally, you can feel the friendliness.
Mm-hmm.
So is that from, my question then is that from you and your guidance? Or because is it one of those like you built it and they figured it out? They've learned
I
the
don't
culture.
know. I mean, I'd like to take credit for it, but really, they're just awesome
Yeah.
animals. And I think people don't realize how sentient farm animals
Sure.
are.
Yeah,
They
right.
are really no different than our dogs and cats. If you give them love and attention, they return it.
Right.
And the animals here have. Enough room. I know the leaves are coming down.
leaves
It's
and the bees are
fall's
worse than
coming,
Yeah.
but they have room. They have company. They have enough food and water that they are happy and they're content. So I think that helps a lot with
Sure.
the friendliness, and they enjoy people coming out. They love the tours and to visit with people. So it's just a happy place, and it's a
Yeah.
great place to build those relationships that you can't always get at other places. I mean, how
Yeah.
can you hang out with a turkey or hang out with
Sure.
an emu, which
The
are
emu
my
that
He's
met us at
making
the
his
gate.
way
He
up.
finally
Oh, good. I hope he
made it.
comes.
He or she. Yeah,
can't
finally
tell
made
which
it
That's
all the way
That's
up
Reno Jet.
Good
That's a
hair.
boy.
there. Yeah.
Right.
So they met us at the gate, which was cool. So what does your day look like? You get up and you come here and you do. I mean, they all don't eat the same food,
No, no.
obviously. So you have what does it
Yeah,
look
it's
like?
a little. Mornings here are a little hectic because I do work full time, so sometimes
Yeah.
5 to 6 days
Sure.
a week. I got to be at work at 6 or 7 in the morning. So I'm usually here and it's dark. And the feeding system here is very systematized. Like everybody just gets fed and I get going. So that's the easy part. The afternoons are a little bit more calm after I finish work because I'm lucky enough to finish my job in the early afternoon, 2 or 3, so I can spend my afternoons here. And I do a lot of the cleaning and the more specific feedings in the afternoon. But that's where I always could use help.
I was just gonna say, so you're the only one doing. Talk about a one-person show.
Well, I know I don't know if it's smart. I'm a little crazy, but I am always looking for volunteers. Afternoons, we can always use help. There's so much cleaning to do, and I have so many projects that I want to accomplish, which are so much easier with more people.
Right.
So we have a volunteer application on our website. So I'd love people to visit the website, look at the volunteer application and the specifics. But we also do a lot of events here that I really put my heart and soul into the events, and they're super fun. The big one coming up, is he coming over?
No, I was looking to see, but no. It's okay.
We have kids camp tomorrow. That's sold out, so we're having a lot of kids come out, and that's going to be super fun. We have projects for them to do. But the one coming up in October that I'm excited about, and I've wanted to do this for years, is a food truck farm tour. So I have local Pittsburgh food
Yes.
trucks coming out here, and they have particular samples that we're
Okay.
going to have on our tour. So they're going to be set up in different areas of the farm. So Sweet Alchemy's here. She's going to have some breakfast sandwiches.
wow.
So since it's going to be like a faux egg sandwich, she's going to be set up near the chicken coops. And we have Pittsburgh dumplings coming out. They're going to have a pork dumpling, so
Oh
a
my
fake pork
gosh.
dumpling.
Yeah.
So they're
Right,
going to be
okay.
here in the pig section. So it's all really cool because you're able to get a snack. A sample of food that you know of the animals that you're saving by eating plant-based.
Listen, that's my new thing.
Yep.
Gluten-free and plant-based. I'm
That's
trying.
right. So healthy.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome. We appreciate you
I love
hosting
that-
us here.
yeah.
We appreciate the fact that whoever you're tight with, you got nice weather for us.
I know. This is
So,
great weather.
Yeah.
Have you thought of things that you can do in the winter, or what happens at that point?
Winter. Well, I hate winter,
Yeah.
even though I'm from
Yeah.
Vermont. So we don't have a lot of tours in the winter because you guys walked up this hill.
Sure.
We
It's like
have a-
my driveway. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm not kidding.
Really?
I literally have 2 do I not have?
Well, at least
it's
you can
awful.
drive up
Very
your driveway.
true.
This is a
This is true.
walking. Ugh.
Yeah.
So in the winters we don't have tours, but I always still need volunteer help. But the animals are great in the winter. They're hardy. They're tough. So they do fine. They all have their
awesome.
barns to go into and whatnot.
Yeah,
so they're
this
all
is
good.
Great. I'm
I love
telling
it.
you, we are so happy that you're here. We're happy that you chose our city. So thank you
I
so much
know.
for
Well,
that.
thank you
and
for
like
coming
you said,
out.
people can go to the website and
Yeah.
just donate because
my
that's
gosh.
so important.
It is,
right?
yeah. I'm a 501c3 nonprofit, so
Mm-hmm.
we definitely depend on the public to stay open, to keep these mouths fed and keep saving more animals.
Yeah.
So donating, we take empty beer and soda can collections so we can recycle those. I'm all about saving the environment, so there's those opportunities. But come out, share the posts on social media so we can get our word out that we're here. Come to events, share our posts, and come out and visit these animals. Be compassionate to animals. That's the best thing that anyone can do to help me out.
And listen, if someone hasn't visited the website or seen it through video at this point, for listeners, can you name so that they're aware of what types of animals so that they really understand this whole coexisting thing?
I know, it's pretty amazing.
It really is.
We have pretty much every farm animal you can think of. We don't have cows, which is
Yeah.
what everyone asks me when they come to the farm, but our new property will. So we're
Okay.
super excited to have some bovines. But we have goats and sheep and alpaca. You guys have to visit
Love.
the alpaca
Love,
before
yeah.
you leave. And then all sorts of birds. We have Wyatt the turkey. We have several turkeys. There he
My
is
gosh,
now.
on cue.
I know.
Right
That
on
was so
cue.
good.
Right?
Ring.
Ducks and geese.
Wyatt on
and
cue.
we have, we have so many. And the emus. Emus
Yes.
are my favorite. We
Yeah.
have 4 emus. 2 more are coming later this fall. So we have just about everything. And when you come on a tour, you get to see them all and visit with them all. You get to walk through all of the areas of the farm, and I will guide you around and tell you the stories of where the animals came from and how they've been rescued from abuse or neglect. And then you also have a little bit of time afterwards, that after you've had some refreshments and snacks, to go back and visit with your favorite animal here. And we have brushes, and you can brush the alpaca and the donkey. Oh, we have a great mini donkey.
Yes.
Lots of mini horses. So
We
it's
watched
just
the
so fun.
goat just start headbutting other animals
pig.
here,
Well,
right? Right?
yeah.
Like-
Gary the goat is a little bit of a bully.
Yeah, I could
so
tell.
he really does. He likes to headbutt the cooney pigs, but they're like. They're like tanks, so they're kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, they
But-
don't even notice.
Yeah, they're like,
You're right.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't. Nobody hurts one another, but
Sure.
there's always a little sibling rivalry.
Well, I
Wow.
just following up on what Rachel said and what you were saying is that we literally walked through the gate and an emu met us, and you just gave
Greeted,
the emu
yeah.
a hug and started petting it up and down the neck and just stood there
Oh,
and
that's
enjoyed
Rigby.
every bit of it.
Yeah, he's my ride or die. He has been here pretty much since I started. Rigby was the first emu I got. He's from a hobby farm. That the gentleman who was running the hobby farm lost his job, and he had a whole bunch of animals, but unfortunately they're expensive to
Yeah.
feed,
Sure.
so he had to get rid of all of his animals. Sadly, a lot of them went to slaughter, but he had gotten very bonded with the emus because they are extremely charismatic animals and they are amazing. So he allowed me to take them here.
Yeah.
So Rigby's been here almost since I started Hope Haven, and I've learned a lot with him, and we've kind of grown up
What
together.
do emus eat?
They eat a lot of things. They have their little ratite pellets, which is
Okay.
nutritionally complete, but they love cherry tomatoes. They love
Same. Me
grapes.
and the
yeah,
emus get along quite
grapes,
well, yeah.
and they love lettuce, dark leafy greens, which we all should be eating more
Yes,
of.
right.
So they do have a wide palate. They will be walking around here, and they eat insects and grasses and things like that too. So they really
You
like
lost
to-
me on that one.
I know. well, we can't share everything
like, I'm
together.
not eating insects.
right. No, kudos to you because it is so cohesive. You can just see it's like a little family, and I love it.
Yeah,
great.
it's a lot of fun. It's a love of mine, and I would love to share that with other Pittsburghers. So I welcome them, and now is a wonderful time to kind of join Hope Haven and come with us, because we are going to be expanding and doing amazing things with our
Yeah.
second property. I just want it to be such a welcoming environment for so many people to come and learn, especially about how farm animals interconnect with the environment and how we can save and protect our earth. It's
Yeah, right.
it's just a great thing. So I encourage
You're
everyone to
doing great
visit,
things.
and I appreciate you.
Monica
Oh,
has a good
absolutely.
on you segment on the radio.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
she should have you do an hour of good
No
on you.
pressure,
Right?
Monica,
No
but,
pressure, Mon.
One more time, where does everybody, Wyatt, please.
I
Where does
know.
everybody find you, follow you, find out more about this, and where they can donate?
Oh, yeah. We have a website, hopehavenfarm.org. So please visit our website. We do have the donate button on there. You could always send a check in. We'll take it. But we are a very strong presence on Facebook. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and come out and visit, especially the food
event
truck
in October,
Yeah, the
yeah.
food truck farm tour, October 14th.
Okay.
There's waves. There's a 10 o'clock tour. There's a 2 and I think it ends at 4.
Okay.
So there's a lot of opportunity. It's going to be really unique. I've never heard of another farm truck
No.
food tour at a sanctuary.
No.
I think it's going to be
In
great.
Pittsburgh,
so
to boot, you
right,
know, like,
yeah.
look at us.
And we're
Yeah.
welcoming everybody. You don't have to be vegetarian to come out.
Sure.
Just come out and enjoy the day.
We love it. All right, hit my question of the day.
Do it, Rach.
Ah,
Come on.
all right.
Uh-oh.
It's a really
no,
good
it's,
question of
it's
the day.
funny because John had a good one, but so his was, if you had a farm, would it be a veggie farm or an animal farm? And I was like, oh, that's a cool question. But when you sang the standard Old MacDonald, what was your first animal said? Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on his farm he had a.
Cow.
There you go.
Who,
All right.
what was yours?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was
pig.
all-
I think mine
Oh, it
was
was
always
pig?
pig.
Yeah, I think mine would probably be pig or cow.
Okay.
That's the only
All
two
Well, you
I
don't.
really
Isn't that how you
know.
grew up though? It's like, isn't that your parents that teach you like that?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
it just sticks with you. I'm pretty
Stupid
sure
parents, I got pig.
pigs are fantastic.
Why,
Yes, they
why
are.
were my parents so sheltered and only had me say pig versus...
yeah.
About farm home?
Yeah.
No, yeah, what's the name of it? Yeah?
An emu.
Oh,
Or
wait,
the-
who are you
And
farming
on
to?
The
this
pig
farm-
back there is not a pig, it's a...
Oh, it's a farm hog. But I
Oh,
mean, they're,
farm hog.
they're
Yeah,
all
yeah. There was a long name
porcine.
to
They're
it, but
porcine. All
yeah.
pigs.
Yeah.
Well,
Pig is a
thank
pig.
you so
Pig's
much
a
for
pig.
Pig is a
we
pig.
appreciate it. You're going to hear
This
some
is
music
great.
from Danny.
Awesome.
Rick Tumwald coming up here, and then our next guest is going to be from Pittsburgh.
We're going goats, dude. We're going goats and then. But
Oh.
if you wanted to go that way, I'll do whatever you want.
All right, cool. Yeah,
We can edit however.
yeah
all right.
whatever you want.
You go. I had just given them the lineup, but
Oh, okay.
whatever.
I was just reading this.
John says Kidsburg. Kidsburg is up.
Ta-da!
Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
Awesome.
You like positioning yourself so that you don't fall?
You what? No, I got on a
I
level.
am, 'cause I
we'll
felt-
move it because there is like a little pothole right there. Yeah.
I know.
If you
I
move
left
it,
all my stuff. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
no worries.
that's Danny's makeup case.
Yeah, he's really. Oh,
It's okay.
and his green M&Ms. We just didn't get anybody
Yeah.
else.
No, I didn't.
His
have
green
any sort of
room, he
rider
said,
on
I want an
mine.
emu in my
Right,
green
you're
room.
silly.
That.
You were silly,
Right.
silly.
All right.
Oh,
Here
sorry.
we go.
Go
Ready?
ahead, John.
No, you go. All right. So we're back. We're back on the Jagoff podcast, and we have Melissa Rayworth. Did I say that right?
You did.
All right, the executive director of Kidsburg. We've known all about Kidsburg, like friends of
Sally
Rachel,
Quinn.
Sally Quinn, and we see it on Pittsburgh Today Live, but we never really touched base with it all. So then what's really cool is that Tracy magically pulls you into some place that's really kid-related.
Oh, my God,
so
it is.
welcome to the Jagoff podcast.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for introducing me to this incredible place.
God.
I'm already like making notes in my head for the story that we're going to do. We have to tell all the parents of the Pittsburgh region about the event in October.
Yeah.
But yeah, our kind of purpose is to make sure that raising kids is not easy, and fortunately, Pittsburgh's a pretty incredible place to raise kids. There's a
Right.
ton of cool things to do. There's a ton of educational resources. But the busiest people in the world are the parents, and they may not have time to go find out all the stuff that's right for their kid or great for their
Right.
family. So we try to kind of put it in one easy place so that every week people can go and look and find out what's going on. So this is exactly the kind of place that we love telling families about.
I was going to say, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that Kidsburg really embodied more of Pittsburgh as we grew, right? Because essentially, we were a coal town. We talk about this all the time. And now here we are, a foodie town, known for health, known for tech. And as we progressed and as we evolved, there was a need for, hey, maybe our kids should be more educated, right?
Yeah, and also given that so many people, like you said, I mean, just in terms of tech, there are so many cool robotics programs and things going on for kids, but parents need to know about them.
Right.
And the folks who decide to create all this may not have the time. They're so busy doing the good that they're doing
Right.
for families or just doing the cool things they're doing. They don't have time to let the whole world know exactly where they are and when the next event is. So we sort of think of ourselves as a community connector. We kind of want to make sure we want to connect, just like you guys, when you bring several different people on together and they meet one another. we try to make sure that organizations or programs that are kind of doing similar things find out about each other so they can collaborate if they feel like it.
And I think
great.
as a parent, and now as a grandparent, actually, it's easy to say, hey, let's go to the baseball game, let's go to the hockey game, let's go get an ice cream or whatever. We don't think of these types of things,
Yeah.
right? And so it's great that Pittsburgh puts these type of, like Hope Haven, in front of all
Yeah.
of the parents. That's super cool.
Exactly, and so we try to make sure, like, our event stories tend to be our most popular. Every Tuesday we put out a guide to the coming weekend. Beginning of every month we put out a guide to what's going on this month. We just published our big fall events guide, but we try to make sure it's not just those obvious things you'd think of.
Right.
We try to make sure it's all kinds of stuff you might not know about. And also, we've really, in the past year or two, been trying to make sure we go outside Allegheny County. There are plenty of
Yeah.
families, even in the city of Pittsburgh, who want to know if there's something cool happening in Butler or happening in Washington County or anywhere else. So we try to make sure we also point people towards stuff like that.
As far as the demographics, so I'm assuming, again, you're looking at the parents. I'm sorry, I'm like the bee patrol too. You're looking at what the parents want educationally, because I think also as parents become better consumers, they want their kids to have, like you said, more of an experience. The zoo's amazing, but what's beyond the zoo?
Yep.
But in addition to that, how do we educate them as well? Because even the scope of education has changed. And
Yeah.
it's not just for leisure or for, you want that, but it's to say, wow, I took you to this place and you learned along the way.
Yep.
Fair?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And letting kids discover, like, each spring when the Remake Learning Days event comes around,
Right.
there are so many cool places. Like Shell Games opens up either in person or sometimes virtually. They'll have kids come in and learn about video game making. And these are Pittsburgh kids who might realize, wow, I could actually work in the video game industry here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many people who open their doors, and a lot of it is educational, but it's also giving parents, you want to spend time with your kids. And
Right.
if you're super busy, you're trying to keep food on the table, you're working a lot. If there's going to be this one thing happening on Saturday for 2 hours and you could go with your kids and it's free or it's inexpensive, you want to know about it so you can go have that fun.
What resources are you using? Are you just, like you said, you're a good connector. Do you have sort of correspondents, reporters that are kind of all over? That
Yep,
it's like, hey,
we have a team of wonderful freelancers. I mean, we are a tiny little team. I'm the executive editor, and I do a good bit of our writing. But we also have usually a group of about a half dozen writers who contribute. But then out of the blue, sometimes we'll hear from people like the folks at the Counseling and Wellness Center of Pittsburgh. About a year or so ago, we saw that they were putting such great stuff on their blog about mental health and for both for families, but just for anybody. And we said to them, hey, we'd love to run a couple of these articles. Is that okay? So we often, or like Public Source will do some incredible investigative piece.
Right.
And we'll just run a quick summary, just a couple paragraphs, and then link out to them. Just to say to our readers, like, hey, you're busy, but you might want to know about this thing.
Yeah,
Right,
that
for
actually,
sure.
you started to head down the path where I was wondering about is that, it's not just fun stuff. You do
Oh,
things
yeah.
that parents, like, we just learned this week about the phonics is whatever happening in schools. It's not working out. Like, whatever they did to replace phonics.
the
And
manner in
so-
which they're teaching reading in some of the
Yeah.
schools.
And so do you address those kind of serious issues as well in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a longtime journalist, and I often there are longer pieces that we do, and we understand most of our readers we can tell from our analytics they're reading Pittsburgh on their phones, and we know they're busy people. But yeah, every now and then I'm like, we need like a 1,200 word story on this really
Yeah.
serious thing. Or we also try to make sure, there may be a story that's only for a small part of our audience. Like, say we do a story about services for kids on the autism spectrum. There may only be, 500 people who read that story instead of the 10,000 who read, 20 great pools to take your kid to this summer. But we know that among that couple hundred who read that story, there may be 50 families who are like, wow, I found out about some service here that I really need, or I learned, or I found out about some specialists. Because Pittsburgh is such a great place for experts. We have all these universities doing all this research. I love doing stories about, sleep hygiene and nutrition and all kinds of stuff. So I'm always interviewing Pittsburgh experts on stuff like that. And so those are the kind of more serious stories that, like I said, maybe there's only 25 families that are really like, oh my God, I needed this. But we're going to help those 25
But those
families.
25
Yeah.
are telling another 2. And,
Exactly.
and it just continues to grow. Yeah, I love
exactly.
it. No, I love seeing how I used Kidsburg. My kids are older now, but I used it as a resource for years just to see what else is there. Because you're right. It went from this blurb in major publications of, and things to do with your kids. And it was like, go to the zoo or, you know, go to wherever. And now there are literally places that you're also sort of taking bigger entities and saying, oh, and now for the kids portion.
Yes.
You know, so that's another important part, because I think families now, younger families, are finding ways to find the kid piece to whatever they're doing.
Yes, I mean, we've even done stories about, you know, like a dozen restaurants you can take
Right,
your
there
kids
you
to that won't mind if your kids make a little noise, but they're not going to be eating just like the chicken fingers and the mac and
cheese.
cheese.
For Pete's sake,
Exactly.
leave the mac and cheese, right, Wyatt?
I spent it's so funny, my teenager's named Wyatt, so this is cracking me up. But we partly raised our kids overseas. My husband's also a journalist, and we lived in Thailand for 3 years when the kids were small.
I just
So
want
my
to
kid-
interview you and your husband on the side.
Oh
Just
my,
FYI, 'cause I'm-
well, and he was born and bred in Pittsburgh and brought me here, and we love this place, but we also love, you know, giving
Sure.
another country a try for a few years. But so our kids are really adventurous eaters, and so when I came back, one of the first stories I wanted to do was, there is so much good food in Pittsburgh. There's so many good restaurants. Parents shouldn't be afraid to take their kids. Now you need to know. You need someone to kind of check it out for you and let you
Yes.
know, like, is this place like super quiet? And probably it's not a great idea if I have like a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. But there are so many great places you can take your kids. So we try to bring in that perspective
Yeah.
of everything for kids
Kind of
doesn't
flipping
have
it.
to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how you guys, now you're young as far as a media outlet, but did you have to flip from hard copy to electronic and
No.
digital?
This
you
was,
guys
we
you
were
came
always
into
digital,
the phase
but
you were
yeah,
always digital.
we started out. Do you guys remember many years ago? There was a publication called Pop City.
Yep.
Yes.
I wrote the nonprofit
Okay.
column for them. Kidsburg started out as just like a quarterly. Pop City would, you know, a couple times a year have a few kid-related things. And it grew from there, and then eventually it had its own website, but was only putting out maybe 4 or 5 pieces of content a month. And over time, it's grown. And so I came on 2 years ago, and we really expanded things. And so we were excited. A couple months ago, we reached a point where in the previous 12-month span, we had just over 1 million page views. And
Oh
we
my
were like,
gosh.
oh my God,
Wow.
we're reaching people. But the important thing is we got to make sure we're reaching everybody who needs this information. So one thing we've been trying to figure out is for families who maybe don't always have a stable internet connection, maybe don't always have devices they can be finding us on, how do we reach those families too? So we've been brainstorming for this coming year.
I have an
about-
idea for you.
All right, I want to hear this.
Go to Northland Public Library that is, minutes from here? And they literally had the strongest Wi-Fi signal even through COVID. They had record
Oh my
people
gosh, what a
coming.
great idea to let
and
families know they
that
can
way-
go there to
and
read
what
us.
better to partner than with a library? And it's
Oh my
Library
gosh.
Month. It's Love Your Library Month.
Yay! That is a brilliant.
Yeah.
That is a really
Thanks.
brilliant idea.
Yeah, thanks. She said brilliant.
She did.
You might have gotten good question from Karen, but I got
Yeah,
brilliant
right,
from the
right, right,
journalist. No, I'm kidding. I mean, any way
Yeah.
that Pittsburgh can help Pittsburgh, like
Totally.
it truly, as born and bred Pittsburghers, it truly makes us so happy to see when things are getting better and better, and you're doing that for Kidsburg. So
Well,
thank
and
you so
and
much.
Kidsburg we're foundation funded, and there are so many cool organizations in the city that want to make life better for kids.
Yeah.
And so the goal. There's a quote that we have when we do presentations that's from Salim Gabriel, who runs the Pittsburgh Promise, about how our work isn't done until Pittsburgh is the best place in the world to raise
true.
kids, and
Yeah.
we're trying to
getting
get
there.
there.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that Pittsburgh's missing as far as kids?
Ooh, that's a really good question, because I mean,
God,
educationally,
with your good
we're-
questions, John. Just stop, Gavin. Pressure's on. I better have good questions.
Well, and I want to write about what Gavin's doing too, so I'm going to be taking notes while you guys are talking to him.
Okay, good.
Educationally, this is such an incredible place. We've been doing a project called Parents as Allies, working with like more than 24 school districts on this really innovative work connecting parents more to the schools. So that's a really good question. There's so much education innovation going on. There's so much outdoor learning, and just this is such an incredible, beautiful region.
Maybe
I got
it's
to
just
think
connecting.
about that.
Maybe you
I
don't
wonder
know
what
what you don't know
Maybe
yet,
it's just
right?
connecting it all.
Yeah, part of
because,
it I think
like
is just
today.
making sure each family can find out all the
Yes,
stuff that's
yes.
already there for them. How do we make it easier for them to know where everything is?
Yeah, that's a great point. No, I'll give it to you.
Thanks, boss.
You're welcome.
Melissa Rayworth, executive editor of Kidsburg. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you
Where
guys
does
for
everybody
having
find
me.
you guys online?
Kidsburg.org.
There you go. Make
Yep.
sure you use the H, you jagoffs.
Yes.
All right.
Don't forget that. This is not Harrisburg.org.
Yeah,
yes.
right. So you heard the question of the day. I love that Wyatt is your son's name. This is hysterical. Oh my gosh. When you sang Old MacDonald, or when you were teaching, whomever.
I am with you about the pig.
Pig. Okay,
And I think I have a theory. I think it's because when you're a little kid, it's fun to make pig snorting noises, and that's the first one you want to do. So
Okay.
you want to do
See,
that.
there was backup on that. Okay, there you go.
She had validation
I
to
think
her
Wyatt
That's
thinks
my
it
guess.
should be a turkey.
Right.
Oh well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
We
you guys
appreciate
for
you.
having
Yeah,
me.
thank you. We appreciate it.
Gavin
All
is
right.
next up with telling me what good questions I have. Come on up, Gavin. That was great. Thank
you so
much.
much. If anybody needs to leave, if you need to leave at all, you can feel free. But you could, you feel free to hang out.
I may head out soon, but I also love this place. I kind of want to live here.
Come on in, Gavin.
Oh.
You know what's interesting about this particular topic is, I think probably 10 years ago, someone was trying to get goatscaping going along. It seems to me like it's been around for a while. And Gavin, our next guest, Gavin Deming, the executive director of Goatscape. And, well, first of all, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
you
so much for having
dressed
me.
appropriately for the job here today, right? So anybody listening, Rach and I showed up in kind of like our jeans, and I had
I
some
wore tennis
just
shoes.
but
Yeah.
Gavin, boots, you got the whole deal
Yeah, I
going
was
on there.
debating between my Keens and my boots, and I figured this would be a good day to be wearing my boots, just in case.
Yeah, there you go.
Got our
So
animals
welcome
around.
to the Jagoff podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much for having
So
me.
tell us a little bit about what you're doing around Pittsburgh, which is totally
Sure,
cool.
sure. I am the executive director of a small nonprofit, as you said, Allegheny Goatscape, and we bring small herds of goats to wanted places to eat up unwanted vegetation. And so there's plenty of that to go around in Pittsburgh and in Allegheny County. When you drive by, we have a very green space, but a lot of that is not good for our environment, honestly. Knotweed and vines that are invasive, they are actually taking away space for plants that would, in our native setting, thrive and would be improving the ecology. But because of these invasive species, they're taking over and don't allow the bugs to eat what they normally would want to eat, the birds to eat the bugs, and also the vegetation. And so it's, as green as we are, it's kind of detrimental to have all these invasive species coming through. So we have goats. Goats like to eat a lot of things. Not everything, that's a misnomer, but they do like to eat many things. And thankfully, some of their favorites are the knotweed, porcelain berry, the bush honeysuckle, all these things that are kind of crowding out the native species. Goats will eat it, and then we get to partner with other wonderful nonprofits to help restore those spaces and plant trees and put in new different things for recreation.
Yeah, so you're working more like, I think, just to kind of clear anything up, this
Sure.
is not for some kind of like business or homeowner who's like, oh, I need my grass done. Like I'm being serious though.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Because I
No.
think people literally take it less serious, and I
Yeah.
think they need to understand. You explained it perfectly.
Yeah, so as a nonprofit, we do appreciate most working in the public sphere.
Sure.
And especially working with our parks and in our parks.
Sure.
With semi-public spaces like educational institutions. Like right now we're at Penn State Greater Allegheny out in McKeesport, but we're also going from there to Duquesne University. So I love to be able to work in those kinds of spaces. We do a few private
Okay.
lots, but you're right. Goats are
But
not
you're monitoring
grazers.
what it is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
sure.
Goats
Well,
are
it's-
not grazers. People think you can bring in a bunch of goats and they just mow a
Right.
lawn. They don't do that. They are browsers, so they like to eat things that are woody, that are higher at their face level and up. And we don't have sheep, so I think those would be the grazers. That would
Plus,
be the
they wouldn't make
lawnmowers.
nice
Oh,
rows in the
okay.
lawn. If you're a person that
That's
likes
right.
nice rows, it just wouldn't happen. But
You would have splashes all over this place.
but you know what's
We wouldn't
interesting
come back.
is
I
though,
know that. We wouldn't be welcome back.
Right.
when I owned a home, I had this really bushy backyard in on this hill, and it was thorns.
Yep.
And I really was considering having the goat
Yep.
scale. I don't know if it, again, this is probably
He's
5,
the jag
6
I was
years
mentioning,
ago.
just
But
FYI.
it was like, wow, should I have them come in and clean this all up? But you're right, it's not for residential. But if someone,
Every once in a
For
while.
some,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we definitely survey and make sure it's appropriate.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
And again, there's a few plants out there that actually are dangerous to goats. So
So
we
like
want to make
what?
sure. So the latest one that's really making its presence known in the last few years is poison hemlock. And it comes up in spring, and it could be fatal. And then there are a few others that are actually nice plants for ornamental growth in your yard or as a hedge, like yews or rhododendrons, which are gorgeous
yeah,
plants,
sure.
but those things would kill a goat.
Oh wow.
And so we make sure not to do projects that those
Yeah.
are present. And usually the reality is, if you have rhododendron growing, you have healthy soil and you have a healthy landscape. They're not going to grow in many of the landslide prone places that we're usually working in, or there's a lot of growth of the invasive species.
I have the dumbest question yet.
No,
Can
no,
I do
no
mine?
dumb questions.
If you tell them it's good, I'm gonna push you off that chair. Go ahead.
Because they eat a lot of plants. I'll prep that. Does goat poop good fertilizer?
Oh, that's a
I
great
mean,
question.
you obviously have a lot of. Can you recycle that to something else?
That is a good question.
Yeah, he's showing off now. All right? Like, whatever.
What's up, Johnny?
No, the thing is, goat poop is fantastic.
Wait, keep going.
Yes, period.
But it's not on the menu here.
No,
Right.
not at all. Anyway,
Yeah.
yes, it is very good because it comes out cold, meaning you could put it right on your garden bed as an additive to the soil. Now we certainly do like to compost it. We compost
Sure.
it all, whether it's at a local community garden or thankfully the city of Pittsburgh is taking some of ours and will then compost
Okay.
it for their own uses, which fantastic. That's what we love. It's regenerative, recycling, like you
Sure.
said. Since they have a very extensive digestive system, so they're taking in even like the seeds, they burn it, almost all of it up. So it's actually another added value to their work. They're eating up the vegetation. If they eat those seeds, they burn it up. They poop out some good fertilizer.
No, I mean, that was a great question, but I'll dovetail your dumb question with mine. How did anyone ever really figure out that goats were the way to go? Like, why the goat?
Well,
seriously.
goats are
And
actually
we're not talking about Tom Brady.
And not the greatest of all time. Yeah.
goats are the oldest domesticated animal. So
Okay.
I think it was figured out pretty early on
Okay.
that goats are a good, valuable animal to have around. And so, yeah, I've met some old farmers in this region who have said, I just have 2 goats that just hang out on my property and eat up the stuff so I don't have to go cut it down.
Yeah.
So I think the use of goats is actually really old. It's novel here for sure.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, it's been around 10 or so years. We've been around since 2017.
Okay.
Before that, there was a wonderful organization, small husband and wife duo, and I took on from them. They decided not to do it anymore. They were Steel City Grazers, took it on, reincorporated it as a small nonprofit. That's what we are, a nonprofit. But before that, Tree Pittsburgh really wanted to do this,
yeah.
and they had to go to Maryland to find a herd of
Really?
goats that was doing it. But there have been groups all over the United States who've
Sure.
been doing this in part to fight wildfires, which
Sure.
is really cool. Thankfully, we don't have that issue here. But out in California, people have been using goats for a long time. Down in around the Atlanta, they actually employ them as city employees, which is interesting.
Yeah. Oh my God.
To eat up unwanted vegetation.
I know, right?
So thankfully, we've been adjacent. Like the city of Pittsburgh has been so good to us. They've permitted us to work on their private properties and the city parks since our initiation. And then we actually do have some contracts with them too.
And how
so.
did you even get into it?
So I live in the north side.
Boy,
And
this is a popular place. All the cool kids live there, right?
And
Thank God I moved there.
when I was really involved with some farmer friends who were doing community gardening there, and we were just looking at all the overgrown lots, and he was like, we need to just get goats, act like biblical times, and walk around the neighborhood and just have them graze and browse. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But then I also worked for the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy in the Community Gardens and Green Space Department for a long time, and started to see that is actually not just a funny idea, but a really good idea. And so when the city started to change their rules about what animals you could have in the city, I was on a committee to help with that, and goats were allowed. That was 2015, and then this couple, Steel City Grazers, came through, and we hired them as the Conservancy, and I was smitten. I was like, this is not only great for our environment to clean up the space, but these are friendly animals. They have a lot of personality, and we aren't using pesticides or herbicides. We aren't using heavy machinery to dig out things.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
yeah, I hear them in the background.
And yeah, and I just started following them and asking them too many questions, and they
It's
said, we
great.
want this to continue, but we don't want to do it anymore. What do you think about it? And I said, yes. My background is in nonprofit management, and so I said, I'm going to try to make this work.
love
And
it.
so here we are.
Now, knowing what Karen does here, how long do the goats work, and then what do you do with them after they're done working? Or do they work until they're old?
Yeah,
Hence the term old goat. Right?
right. we have for our organization, we have a wide array of ages. Our youngest is 1. Our eldest, gosh, they could be pushing 16, 17, which is very old for a large goat.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, usually goats, the smaller ones, much like dogs, could live to be about 20. The larger ones, 12 to 15.
Okay.
And so a lot of our goats, I'll just say this, a lot of our goats are either, they were pets and the people just could not take care of them anymore, or they were, this is kind of second career for them, and they're coming from dairy farms, specifically
career. I
Goat
love
Rodeo,
that
which is fantastic people. Goat Rodeo, Farm and
Okay.
Dairy, up near here, actually, not too far from here. And so we take them, and because what they want to do is eat, we put them to work, and they're going to eat whether or not they're with us. And so we think this is a great opportunity because they're eating a lot of good green stuff for them. And we give them the best life we can. And so as long as they are healthy and working, and we treat them well, we treat them with great care. We actually have a herd health supervisor as part of our staff who just makes sure everybody's doing well. And we do actually, this year we started a geriatric herd.
Stop it.
We call, so they're
Do
called,
you take them to the casino and pick up toasters and crock pots?
they board the bus and travel out.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
No, but what they do is they keep doing the same work. We definitely pay them more attention, but they're doing easier jobs.
Okay.
And
That's
usually they're
wonderful.
private, so they're not, should something happen, because they are live animals,
Sure.
things do happen. We do kind of keep them out of the spotlight a little more.
Okay.
Like I said, most of our projects are public, but
Sure.
they are more kind of out of the spotlight. But
You have it
yeah.
down to a science.
No, I wouldn't say that, but
Okay.
we definitely are. We
You're
get
getting
better every
there.
year. Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
for sure.
absolutely. But yeah, that's Pete and the Golden Goats. That's the geriatric herd. We name them. We name all of our
Wait,
herds.
were they a band?
Yeah, they're a band performing
We've
at
got
Johnny.
we've got
Vinci
good
stuff.
shots for the
I'm
cover
sure.
album. Yeah. Yeah. So that herd, we name all of our herds after the protector donkey, miniature
Okay.
donkey. So
Okay.
we have 4 of our 5 herds do have a protector donkey, and so that's Pete. And then we also have Hobo, Diamond, and Sunshine.
Well, I'm sorry. You're going to have to. We have another guest, but you're going to have to expand on what is a protector donkey.
Yeah, so donkeys, much like goats, are herd animals, so they do pretty well staying. They'd, of course, rather be with their donkeys, but they do well with the goats, and they just have an innate dislike of canines. So whether you believe it or not, there's a lot of coyotes out here. And so just as an added layer of insurance, as protection, we keep 4 of our 5 herds, we keep a donkey with the goats.
Wow.
And they eat many of the same things the goats do, and they generally get along. They get a little snippety with the goats from time to time, but they do well. And because we are a nonprofit, we utilize a lot of volunteers, and usually, though we are a goat organization, the donkeys are usually the favorites because they crave the most attention with our
Yeah.
volunteers. And I
Plus,
mean,
they
they're
started in Bethlehem. There's that, right, Trace?
Oh my God!
They did. It's the
Oh
story.
my.
It's the story. But that's pretty. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the fact that, again, the integration piece. So then there's a donkey. Is there? Would you eventually start focusing on donkeys as breeds, or no? You're kind of.
No, and that's just because donkeys love grass most of all, so
Gotcha.
they might make a good mower.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's
there
what
you
we
go.
should
We'll
just,
put them in
just
the
all donkeys mowing.
residential area.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no,
This
that-
is so
yeah.
interesting because it's, again, completely out of my element and learning
Sure.
something that, I would have never thought about. How interesting.
Yeah.
In the serious term.
Yeah, right.
In my
This is
early days, if I said interesting, John was like, she's not into it. But this is a whole other.
Gavin
this is
Deming,
great.
Executive Director of Allegheny Goatscape,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and well, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and we have our question of the
Do
day.
the song. Do the song. Make them do it. I sang it last time.
You do it. I
Old
don't sing.
MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had a.
Dog.
Oh.
I know it's boring, but
God, that was
growing
boring.
up, I grew up in the country in Southwest Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Cow was taken. That was actually
Okay.
probably my first choice.
Okay.
But we never had farm animals. We were
I love that
surrounded
you
by farm
wouldn't take
animals.
the same
Oh,
answer.
right.
That's so mean.
You're like, this is
yeah,
a
I would do
serious
the
song.
same thing.
Yeah. But no, it's like, well, obviously this is a logical question, and so it's we had dogs and we had cats, but
He's
Yeah,
like,
I got-
old
wait.
Gavin Deming had a farm. Yeah, it's me. It's me. I don't even know who Old MacDonald is.
Oh, God, Gavin, this is awesome. Where does everybody find you and follow you?
sure. We're on the web, of course, at AlleghenyGoatscape.org. And we are pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, Allegheny Goatscape.
Love it. Thank you so
So,
much
yeah, thanks
bringing
for
us
having
so
me.
much knowledge. This
Yeah,
is great.
and I will say if anybody wants to take time to meet one of our active herds, we're doing a presentation series with the park rangers of the city of Pittsburgh. And so I believe on September 26th, we will be at Highland Park
Okay.
doing a joint presentation, and you can meet some of our working goats then.
I love
but
it.
September 26th, I believe, at 4 o'clock in Highland Park.
That's great.
So you can
we'll,
check that
we'll
out.
remind everybody.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us.
thank you so much
this
for
is
having
Some
me.
great.
more music from Danny Rechtenwald next.
Danny's up. That was great. Thank you.
Oh, man, this has been a great podcast,
You know, I would
actually.
say.
Wow.
Great, Wyatt. This
All right.
turkey is like literally just circling you. It's hysterical.
obsessed with people.
Yeah,
So funny.
Did he make noise recently?
He's
Like
been
when I was
making a lot of noise.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
you
weird, I
didn't
just-
notice.
I didn't
You
notice.
Ah.
Yeah, he's been obnoxious.
Oh, not at all. No.
Come on, Danny, and we'll talk to you. Then we'll have you sing us out. All right, so
all of this knowledge.
once again, Hope Haven Sanctuary up here in Wexford. That's where we are. And when you hear the edited version, you won't get to see all these animals that are walking around. Like, is the goat's not up on the wall?
They're all, like,
they've
laying
all tamed
down.
now.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Is that right?
Oh,
Okay. All right. Cool. So,
Wow. You're gonna chat with us too.
Yeah.
Danny.
So, do you want Danny to use that microphone to
Or this.
chat?
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Cool.
Want me to use
So
this
we'll
one?
Yeah. No, you can use that.
Oh, this one. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right,
so it
cool.
was my mistake. I apologize.
Cool.
I'll talk into
No,
that.
All
you're
right,
fine.
so coming back from music. So the music we've been hearing on the podcast this week has been Danny Rechtenwald. We know Danny from, what's really crazy is the music you've been hearing has been like,
So mellow. So.
but we
yeah.
know him from the Bastard Bearded Irishman, and it's way
not
different
like
than
that.
that. So,
Totally different.
So Danny,
Yeah.
welcome to the podcast. We appreciate
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I think
Yeah.
this is my the third time.
I think so.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
First time as a solo.
The first time was that's
And
right.
I
yeah.
love that, we do obviously some background info to find out. I did not realize just how accomplished you are. I mean, some
Oh,
of the folks who you've
thanks.
performed with, even, Liz Berlin is my absolute favorite.
Oh,
I tell the
yeah.
story all the time that we've had her on the podcast quite a bit, but Rusted Root was my favorite band in college.
I loved Rusted Root too.
And
yeah.
the sounds,
Yeah.
and just meeting her later in life, and she's a Pittsburgh connector. She loves and appreciates musicians to kind of get that sound to be different.
Right.
So what has it been like, to use the example of BBI and then performing with some of the greats? I mean, the Common Heart and Liz and the commercial that I see that's the one thing I didn't realize.
Did you see the commercial? It's
I
beautiful.
didn't,
Yeah, it's
but I'm
cool.
going to go watch. I know
Yeah.
exactly what it is. Yeah.
I want to make sure. Am I getting in the mic right here?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
so,
you're good.
yeah, Liz, like so. I see her a lot. Like she owns and runs Mr. Smalls.
Sure.
So there's an open mic there that I got to know her
Okay.
through that pretty well. So, but like we're very lucky in Pittsburgh to have such a like vibrant music scene
Agree.
that and also like artists are really supportive of each other. Like it's not really competitive, and there's not like too much. Every now and then you see certain people have a big ego and they are hard to work with, but like for the most part it's very supportive, and there's also a lot of like support from music lovers in the city as well. So
Great point.
it's
Yeah.
really cool that to be like and we also get our local radio stations also kind of spotlight local musicians.
No question. Yeah.
And things like that. So it's been really good to I think all of those things together make it really a great city to be playing music in. It's really, people, and actually I have, some friends that have moved here from Nashville and from New York City just because, the cost of living is so high in these places. And in Pittsburgh, you can still play a lot of music. You can tour from here. We're close to these cities, New York, Nashville, and Chicago and stuff. So you can live here and you don't have to, work 4 part-time jobs just to pay your rent.
Yeah. What about
That's a great
producing
point. Yeah.
here? You can live here and do the gigs, but what about production and recording? Is it good here as well?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So there's there are some really great studios, like Mr. Small's studio, and then also the Church. Those are 2 of. There's more, and hopefully these people, if they hear, they're not offended that I forgot.
Yeah.
their
Well,
names of
like
their
we did a
studios, but
podcast from the Vault down on Neville Island, which
Right,
and
Bob
things like
McCutcheon,
that.
yeah.
And it's just amazing. So to me, as an outside observer who doesn't produce music, it seems like it's super cool that it is. But
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that if we can produce here, if we're singing here, cool. We
Yeah.
also want to produce out of here. And it sounds like you're saying, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
You don't
So-
have to go to New York to a studio.
You're right, yeah, and so there's like sort of 2 answers to this question because like so many musicians self-produce and like self-record, so
Yes.
you can learn everything on
Okay.
YouTube. You can do everything yourself. So, but we do have like these studios. Like sometimes I think Van Morrison, when he was here for I think like the Outlaw Music Fest, like he recorded a song here in one of our studios. So,
Okay.
so people do this and they use like our Pittsburgh, if you were to like, know the people that run the studios are like, like there's pictures of them with really, really big names and and they're coming to record in Pittsburgh, just because they're on tour and they're stopping. So there's a lot of great recording engineers and
I have one more follow-up question if you don't mind.
sorry, I
on
should have
that.
mentioned the
Yeah.
studio that I recorded my
Yeah.
album in
Yeah.
first. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
I
There
should
you
have started
go.
that.
Which
so
is?
Allegheny City Sound.
Oh,
So
okay. And where's that?
That's in Lawrenceville. So
Okay.
it's but his name is Alex Hurd, who runs that, and he records so many of the bands that you might know.
You now fold perfectly into the podcast because you said the word "heard."
Oh,
And,
Yeah, right. I was going to say, do you have
Alex
any
Hurd.
animal connection? Because
right.
I
Can you
feel
make
like
an
you're
animal
failing.
voice? No.
Yeah.
The the other thing would be is that we do have a lot of younger people producing music or wanting to be artists.
Yeah.
In your sense, what are they looking for when they go? They can produce on their own, but if they really want to go to a studio, every studio is going to say, "Come here, come here, come here." What would they look for? If they're really trying to find a studio in here,
Like
Pittsburgh.
young
I think
performer.
So that
Depends,
so that they
right?
make sure they're not being just sort of raked over the
Right.
coals for some money.
That's the thing. I think they're looking for affordability. Like I think that's number one, the thing. So there are I think quality and affordability. That's got to
Okay.
be what it is, because you can do really good stuff for very cheap. But also if you go to one of these bigger name studios, where guys like Van Morrison or like I mentioned, like you'll pay a whole lot of
Right.
money.
yeah.
It'll be. I mean, it's worth it. But if you can't afford that, then you can still
Okay.
do stuff.
And
you
a
know.
music career hasn't always been conducive to that because you're typically doing smaller jobs to
Yeah.
focus on your music career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and musician and also if you're ingrained in a scene, and you're friends with these producers and sound engineers and also other musicians, people, you can do favors for each other, and so you can make really great quality music. That. And you're not just paying cash
Sure.
for the highest price that, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I
so
gotcha.
that's kind of the
Is
way.
our city becoming
works.
known more for the jam session, right? Because I feel like we always had great talent from years back, decades back. We produced so many great bands or trios or things like that. Did you
Are you
get
getting
stung?
bit?
Got bit.
Me
yeah.
too.
The flies eat you
I mean,
around here.
they offer bug spray before you even come into this place, just saying. But anyway, now I'm seeing more of that Nashville vibe that Pittsburghers knew, right? We know we had talent, but people are saying hey, I play the harp, you know,
Right,
being my
yeah.
favorite. What can I blend that with? Maybe a
Sure,
mandolin. Maybe
yeah.
are you seeing that sort of culmination happening more?
So you mean like collaboration, like with
And
people? Yeah,
jams,
there's
yes,
so
yes.
much. Yeah. So there's especially in the bluegrass scene. There's people like if you play whatever instrument, come and you can. There's like jam sessions or play-alongs. You just come in and just everybody plays the same song.
Sort of like the open mic, but not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And but also it's just kind of depends. Like it's just like everybody's really friendly, and again like the bluegrass. There's a guy who plays sax who would come in and play bluegrass. So like in certain genres and in certain scenes, like everybody's welcome. So
Sure.
yeah, and like even if you play a strange instrument like saxophone and
Ukulele.
bluegrass music, yeah, ukulele, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Monica's gonna take me ukulele lessons.
So you're loving your solo career.
Yeah,
I mean, not that you didn't have
Yeah,
it before,
I
but
think-
you're
Right,
really
sure.
pressing on that now, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And for those who are not aware, Scott's Lawn Care is you're the musician on the
Yeah.
Scott's
Sure.
National.
On one of
What
those,
is
yeah.
that like to get that? Like,
It was
do you have
wild,
do you have an
yeah.
agent that said, "Hey, I got a guy," or
It's kind of a weird story. So I'm on this local record label called
Okay.
Mizra Records,
okay,
and they had uploaded my music to this website that people, like advertisers, let's say that's Scott's Lawn Care, like they pay a fee to access music that's on this website
Okay.
that my music was on, right? So I noticed somebody Facebook messaged me and said, "Hey man, I found your music on this TV show or on this commercial, and I just thought I'd say hi. I really love your music." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I'm from Florida," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" I had no idea what he was talking about. And he was like, "Yeah, man, you're playing on round the clock on CNN right now, like."
Oh
so
my
he found me.
gosh.
So he Shazammed the song
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
in
God
the
loves
commercial, and he found me and reached out to me, and that was how I found out. I didn't even know. So I actually reached out to Scott's. I was like, "Hey, where, you have to pay me for this? How,
yeah,
you can't just take my music?" And they're like, "We did. It's on this website." So I didn't really know
Oh.
that was even So, and I did eventually get paid. But
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't like they didn't ask me.
You didn't want us to
first
write
or,
them as a
to
jag
know.
off, so you
Right.
hurried up and said,
Yeah.
they did eventually
Uh-huh.
pay me.
They sure did. Yeah, it was fine.
That's
it was all
awesome.
cool. And I was like, yeah, so it was really neat just to see that my music had been
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
for something like that, and it was like a really cool
We love it.
heartwarming commercial.
That's great.
Well,
So
speaking of songs, our question of the day
Yeah.
is regarding
Do you
a
want to
song,
sing it with
right?
me? Old MacDonald
Oh, yeah.
had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on that farm he had some.
turkey.
Oh,
Turkey!
finally somebody gave him
It
his
was,
due.
it was Wyatt.
It was Wyatt and you have become best friends as you were sitting behind everything
Oh,
and getting
so
ready.
funny. He's the jag-off turkey, yeah.
Yeah.
Danny Rechtenwald, thank you so much. It's
Sure,
fun to
yeah.
just hang out with you and
It is,
not
yeah.
see you jumping around on the stage
I
and all that
know,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. And the music that you've given us today is. I noticed we had some people on playing acoustic guitar or whatever it's called at the zoo, and you have the same kind of fingernails. The thumbnail is
Oh,
very.
really?
You have
Yeah.
a thumbnail. It's grown specifically for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's really weird. So I ever since I was 12 years old, I had to grow my nails out to play guitar. Cause I play what's called finger style guitar. So
Yeah.
I'm plucking the strings with my fingers, and if you just use your flesh, it's not as loud.
Okay.
But with a nail, it's like a pick.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
is what
right.
it is. So
Love it.
yeah, so that's kind of the way. Yeah, if you meet someone and they have fingernails on just one hand, long fingernails, they're probably a
You're
guitar,
a guitar player. Dun dun dun.
or just a big
Investigative.
weirdo.
Look what you learned. Look what you
Just a
learned.
weirdo. He said it.
I learned about goatscaping and nails.
Oh, my
I mean,
God,
look at my
so-
life today. I'm
yeah.
a lucky person.
Yeah, it's been really
All
fun to
right.
watch.
Well-
to
That's
listen
right.
to.
It's
Yeah.
been great.
Well, we
So-
appreciate you are our Beano's local vocal
Yeah.
today. Beano's Deli Condiments have been a staple to any Sammy for years. Now they're making sandwich making Yinzer music to your ears with a Western PA list. Make sure when you buy your Beano's bottle, you hit the QR code and go find some Yinzer playlist. on the QR code.
If my papers hadn't gone away, I would have helped you with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Beano's does it right. It's all Western PA. A lot of your friends are actually on there. And
Cool.
so download that playlist so that you can hear Western PA favorites like Danny.
So as we head out, can you give us a little music bed?
I will, yeah.
And we'll say thank you to everybody. Thank you, first of all, to Karen for having us here at Hope
This was so
Haven.
much fun.
This was super
It
fun.
definitely put me at ease. for
Yeah,
anyone.
we learned all about a lot of things, and we'll have to come back and learn even more. And thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to Danny, and thank you to Melissa from Kidsburg. Thank you to Gavin from Goatscape. We learned so much. Thank you to Tracy and Monica who put all this together.
And thank you to our sponsor. Get the best experience of customer service and maintenance of your Rorick Advantage at the service center right there on West Liberty Avenue. Visit RorickHonda.com for all of your vehicle needs.
And one more thing, People's Gas. Remember, if you're digging in your area, People's Gas encourage you to call 811 for any type of home project, whether you're putting a mailbox, a swimming pool,
Or a sanctuary.
or or a goat poop bin, whatever it's going to be. Make sure you call 811 before you dig, because
It's the law, you jagoff.
all right, Danny, take us
Yeah.
out, please.
All right. Last section.